Hello, my name is Abhishek Amin, and I'll be doing my presentation on hyperlipidemia treatments, PCSK9 inhibitors versus statin treatments. My mentor is Dr. Rakesh Shah. He's an MD at Bay Area Heart, and my teacher is Miss Christy Click. She's an RN, BSN, and MS. And this is my ISM Fall 2016 7th period final presentation, and some of the information in this presentation may come out from outside sources. So my mentor and I, Dr. Rakesh Shah, pictured right, graduated from the Medical College of Baroda in India and did his residency at the Medical College of Virginia, and I'm pictured left. This is in the front office of Bay Area Heart. So a little more about Bay Area Heart. Bay Area Heart is a cardiology specialty, and they put patients over everything else, over finance and all that. They're very patient oriented, and their main goal is to make the patients happy. So when I come here day to day, some of the things I would do is I would get patients from the waiting room, bring them back to a chair where they'd be seated next to similar machines such as blood pressure machine and a physician scale, where I would take their blood pressure, heart rate, and their weight, and then I would walk them to their room. Once I walk them to their room, I would enter this information into a computer system where I type all that out for the doctor, as well as type whether the patient is here with family or alone, and what the patient's here for, whether it be an EKG follow-up or just an annual checkup. So what is ISM? ISM is an independent study mentorship class, and it's designed to give students an idea of a chosen career field. It provides us the opportunity to learn more about a field without dedicating our college lives to the subject and not getting any experience to it at all. So mentors and teachers together provide students with information to create these products, and my product would be this final presentation that I have done, and it's a cumulative project over the 2 9 weeks that I've been doing this for. We also have to create a college gate level product, which is a tangible item. So I've created a diet plan, and additionally, ISM has really helped me get an insight for this field by showing me the day-to-day things that happens in the clinic. So what is hyperlipidemia? Hyperlipidemia is also known as hyperlipoproteinemia, and it's caused by a group of genetic diseases that lead to high amounts of cholesterol in the body. It's caused by mellitus, nephrosis, and diabetes, as well as hypothyroidism, but those aren't the only ways that you could get hyperlipidemia. And basically what it does is, as I said earlier, increases the level of cholesterol in the body, and by doing so, it also leads to more triglycerides, which lead to disease. So first type of cholesterol I like to talk about is HDL. HDL is high density lipoproteins, and this is what is known as good cholesterol. So this can actually reduce a patient's risk of developing heart disease. However, there are no current treatments approved by the FDA to increase the HDL in the body. That's why doctors target LDL, or low density lipoproteins, which are known as bad cholesterol. That is what blocks up your arteries. So it's actually a major contributor to heart disease, one of the biggest. And the average ranges for LDL are 50 milligrams per deciliter to 70 milligrams per deciliter. Next, I have triglycerides. They're lipid compounds that float in the bloodstream, and elevated levels of that can lead to coronary artery disease. Also, very high levels of triglycerides can lead to pancreatitis. Those levels would be over 500 milligrams per deciliter, but it varies from patient to patient, and the average levels for this are under 150 milligrams per deciliter. So treatments for hyperlipidemia. Mild forms of hyperlipidemia can be treated just by regular exercise and eating right, by limiting the amount of cholesterol in the body. However, there are 2 medicinal treatments for hyperlipidemia when it gets to that certain extent that it can't only be controlled by exercise and diet. The first treatment would be the more commonly used statin treatment, and the second would be PCSK9 inhibitors, which is a fairly new treatment and it's not been approved by the FDA. Hyperlipidemia can be prevented, like if you know that it's in your family, just by from when you're little, continuing to eat right and working out and exercising. So another thing I'd like to cover is why I chose this topic of hyperlipidemia. The reason I chose this topic was that my grandfather had cholesterol problems and he actually passed away due to cholesterol problems, and additionally my father had cholesterol issues as well. So I know that it's probably going to be coming my way in the near future if I don't control myself and how I eat and how I exercise. Also, Dr. Rakesh Shah told me that it would be a great topic since so many patients in the clinic have hyperlipidemia. And I was additionally intrigued by all the new technology that was going into this treatment of how to lower LDL. So next I have statin treatment. The pros to it is that it can prevent more blockages from being created, as well as prevent future heart attacks. And another benefit of it is that there's so many different varieties. There's atorvastatin, fluvastatin, lovastatin, pitavastatin, pravastatin, rosuvastatin, and simvastatin. And there are cons to this treatment, like there's cons to everything in the world. 1/5 of people aren't affected by this statin treatment enough, or as much as they need to be affected by it. And another con is that some people can't handle the side effects, which are muscle pain, liver damage, and it can lead to diabetes. So for the people that are right on the edge of that, they kind of have to go with the other treatment. So how this treatment exactly works is it blocks a resource in the liver, which is used to create cholesterol. That resource is HMG-CoA, and what statin is HMG-CoA reductase. Since it's a reductase, that means it's an enzyme, and basically the enzyme binds to the HMG-CoA and prevents it from turning into cholesterol. However, the statin can't bind to every single HMG-CoA there is, so there is still that influx of LDL. Additionally, another benefit of statin is that it absorbs plaque and buildup that's already been in the arteries, which are disrupting flow and causing blockages. So this is a picture of some common brands of statin. There's Crestor, simvastatin, and Lipitor, and these are all the 10 milligram variety. Next I have PCSK9 inhibitor treatment. So convertase subtilisin kexine 9 is a fairly new treatment. It was developed in the past 5 years, and that's when all the testing has been done for it. It's proven to have fewer heart attacks, heart failure, and stroke. In fact, there are trials that show that it reduces it enough, way more than statin in 50% of patients. Additionally, over the course of a trial, 50% of the patients that had taken PCSK9 had significantly fewer risk of heart attack, stroke, and heart failure in the next 10 years. However, there are cons to this treatment, like there's cons to everything in this world, and that con would be the cost of it. It costs upwards of $12,000 for a patient. However, it can be covered by insurance through medical cause, and those two reasons, which I explained earlier, would be that statin isn't working enough in those patients, or they cannot handle the side effects of statins. And in that case, the insurance would pick up the cost. Additionally, these drugs are extremely experimental, kind of, since they haven't been published by the FDA, as I said earlier. So my next slide is how PCSK9 inhibitors work. How they work is in our body we have receptors for everything. So PCSK9 bonds to an LDL receptor, the low density lipoproteins. And what it does is when the PCSK9 is able to bond to the LDL receptor, it's able to create LDL. However, when PCSK9 inhibitor takes the place of regular PCSK9, it inhibits PCSK9 from bonding to the receptor, therefore not allowing it to create the LDL. So it's basically like a key in a keyhole. PCSK9 would be the correct key to the keyhole. However, PCSK9 inhibitor can fit in the keyhole, but it can't twist the doorknob, so it can't open the door. However, it's still taking the spot of the keyhole. And this has been seen to reduce the amount of LDL in the bloodstream significantly. So this is a PCSK9 inhibitor. These are two examples. The first is Repatha and the second is Praluent. Repatha is the 140 milligram variety and Praluent is 70 milligrams, 75 milligrams. So now I'd like to show my website. So this is my website, and the purpose of this website is to showcase my whole ISM portfolio and everything we've done over this year. We've been working on it since the beginning of the year, and I've been cumulatively adding new things to it every time. So first I'd like to show you all my journal entries. Every week we have to create a journal based on a prompt given to us by our teacher. So for the first week, the prompt was, how was your first day experience? So I wrote about my first day being on 9816 at Bay Area Heart. At first it was really weird because I felt so tall and I could hear people talking about that. And then I got to learn how to triage patients and how to deal with patients in rooms and stuff. And then after that, I started doing things, and I was kind of skeptical and nervous at first. But then when I got the hang of it, I felt like I was pretty good at it, and it was kind of fun. One thing that I observed that was kind of like threw me off a little was that the charts were written in caps, so I had to get used to that. And my mentor was really calm, and he knew what he was doing. He even asked me if I knew what I wanted to do my project on. Another thing I do at my mentorship that I didn't mention earlier is I shadow Dr. Shah. So this is the blog about the first time I shadowed Dr. Shah. And what was interesting was that I had seen several patients with tobacco issues. However, they had had heart surgeries and bypass surgeries, and they needed to stop, but they still hadn't. So I thought that was kind of interesting how people could get addicted to things. And another thing I saw that was interesting was that 3/4 of the patients I saw that day happened to have hyperlipidemia, and that's what I decided to further research and investigate in. Next, I'd like to show you all my activity logs. So this is an example of the activity log. I don't know if y'all have seen me get Dr. Shah's signature or Miss Nancy's signature. And so each 9 weeks, we are required 15 hours for the first 9 weeks and 18 hours for the second 9 weeks. And so this is just an example of 1 week's log. So for example, we'd have 2 hours of activity hours is what they call it, and in those 2 hours we'd be working on our project, or we'd be working on something to do with our ISM class. And then we are required to have 3 mentorship hours in the course of a week as well. And in that, I would write that I shadowed Dr. Shah, or I came here and triage patients, and I'd write like a brief synopsis of the patients I saw and kind of how that would help my project and stuff. After that, I'd like to show one of the assignments I did. This is a research kind of study that I did. We had to pick 4 sources. So the first source I chose covers hyperlipidemia generally and how it affects the body, how it affects people mentally, and how it can cause people to not want to exercise even though they need to, and feel like sorry about themselves in a way. And then the next source is more about like the actual science behind hyperlipidemia, the 5 types of cholesterol, LDL, HDL, and how lipid panel shows what it shows. The resource after that I used was basically a synopsis of how statin treatment affects the body and how doctors use it to treat hyperlipidemia. And the last one was a Harvard publication about PCSK9 inhibitors. It contained a trial and the results of the trial, as well as what PCSK9 was in basic, simple terms, and how it worked and how it affected the body, and why it's so expensive, and since it's not art. And then after that, I have my artifacts, which are just things I've collected over the course of the course of the semester that I thought are relate to my topic in a sense. So the first I have just a flyer of what causes hyperlipidemia and some of the just generalized topics around it. Then I have a lipid test result ranges table, which shows the total cholesterol averages, good, bad, and same for HDL, LDL, and triglycerides. After that, I have a actual lipid panel result, and then I have how PCSK9 works and affects the body, as well as how statin works. This is an exercise plan and an eating plan for hyperlipidemia. This Praluent, so this is just an example of a PCSK9. This was my original idea for my product. I wanted to create an animation, and I did do that over Thanksgiving break. However, I'd spent a lot of time on it and the file got corrupted, so I had to create a brand new product over these past 2 days, which I was really upset about, but I couldn't redo the whole video since I had tests back to back in the past couple of days. Next thing is the heart and how blood flow goes. After that, I have a terms I just kind of studied so that I would know some of the things Dr. Shaw was talking about. It's just a list of cardiology terms. And then I have the physician scale and blood pressure machine. Lastly, I'd like to show you on my product. So this is my product. I've created a diet list, just like a general guideline that you could hand out to a patient on a daily basis of what they can and cannot eat, just like a quick reference they could have in their purse or their bag or something, or in their pocket, and they could pull it out and try and see if they're allowed to eat that or not, if they should limit it or not. However, I did do this in the past day, so it's not the best it could be, but I did put forth a lot of effort into this, and I did a lot of research behind how the diet plan could work, and how limited you could have coffee and tea, but you can't have the instant made coffee. You have to have coffee from beans. Things like what types of meat cuts that you can eat and what types you can't, such as you can have pig back bacon, but you cannot have regular bacon. So that's what I found was interesting and throughout this. And now I'd like to finish up my PowerPoint. So I'd just like to say that I enjoyed my time at Bay Area Heart. It was a lot of fun. I got to learn a lot about cardiology, and I also got to learn a lot about hyperlipidemia. I like the amount of technology and research going into this, as I had said earlier, and I find this study taught me a lot, because I could prevent this from happening to me just by continuing to exercise and eating right, and not eating a lot of junk food, and not eating the stuff that's on the avoid or limit list in my product. I'd like to thank my mentor, Dr. Rakesh Shah. I would like to thank my 2 evaluators, Ms. Nancy and Ms. Renee. And I would like to thank my mom and my family. And then this is my works cited.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.